Hi everybody, it's Valana Wynn again from Safe House of the Desert. So I want to continue with our ring making class, and this is a creative kind of non-structured type of ring I'm going to show you how to make. It's really easy. And we're going to talk about using craft wire in a way that isn't necessarily structured, where it's more organic. So if you wanted to kind of just play with wire and feel the wire bending and kind of sculpt it, this is the type of ring for you. So we're going to need a few things. One is we need our jewelry making tools, which we've talked about in the past. Round nose pliers, cutters, some flat nose pliers, and flat nose pliers. We also need to have 16 gauge wire. So 16 gauge wire, it's much more rigid, you know, there's really quite a bend to it, but there's resistance to it. So when we're doing something that's kind of like a real organic type of design, the most important thing is to be able to create the band first and then add your stones. So I'm going to show you a couple examples of what some of the rings may look like, and I'm going to actually bring the camera down now as we go into the tabletop to take a look at what we've got here to show you today. So the things that I'm working with are, here's an example of kind of an organic type of ring. So you can see that, well, one of the tools I forgot to tell you, we're using a ring mandrel. So you can see if you looked at that, more than likely what happened is you just wrapped wire around that barrel of the ring mandrel, and then you created a way to tie off the ring and add a stone. This is a really simple way to make a ring really quick. Here's a little bit more of a dramatic type of ring where we've used curls and kind of layered it up a little bit. This is with much more wire. The first ring I showed you is probably 8 inches of wire or so. So it's a much simpler, it'll create about 4 loops. And this one, as you can see, was much more because it has many more loops around it. Another way of looking at abstraction is using this where we actually put in multiple stones. And really kind of the whole fun about creating rings like this is that we create something that is just really different and unique, and it's uniquely yours. So you also can use, let's say you didn't have stones and all you have is wire. We can make gratitude wire rings that are really cute and look nice on as well. So lots of different ways to make rings, but I'm going to get you started in a really easy way. Here's the first thing. You've got 16 gauge wire. I'm using gold. It's craft wire. It's a copper filled gold tone finish. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find my size of the ring on the ring mandrel. And then I'm going to wrap it right on the size. Let's say I'm a 7. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put the wire on it to where both sides are equal. And then I'm going to wrap around the ring mandrel and come up, and around that ring mandrel and come up. So I'm starting here. And what I'm going to do, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cross these wires over, and I'm going to actually twist them. See how I'm twisting them with my hands? And what that does is that locks that in place. Now, here's what's so cool about this. All of this wire here is left for you to sculpt and get creative with. So I'm going to add let's say for today, I'm going to add a pearl. So I'm going to put that on here and I'm going to drop it in. Now, the great thing about working with wire like this is that this wire bends, and you can this is just done by hand. You're creating whatever kind of design you want to create. I think I'll add another pearl on the other side that I had today. And you can do this with any bead, doesn't matter what it is. And I'm going to wrap this wire in here as well and just start creating this abstract form. Doesn't matter what you do. The idea is if you wrap this and you bring it horizontal to the finger, it'll look a little bit better and it'll function better. So as we're wrapping this stuff, I may want to create some curls here to kind of give it a little bit of a grounding, so to speak. So I'm going to come in with my pliers, and I'm going to, remember we were talking about the key and the lock? I'm going to take this and I'm going to clamp it on the bottom, and I'm going to start curling into the ring. So you see what I did there? I curled it into the ring. And then the same thing here, I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to curl it into the ring, turning and turning. And you know what's really fun about this is you can allow these big loops to exist when you're doing something abstract like this. So we end up with this really quick, very cool ring. It's abstract, it's fun. What's really important is that this band is really rounded and that it is secured. So the most important step is as you wrap your wire around the ring mandrel, you wrap it around once or twice and then you twist it. And that leaves you with two tails. And those two tails you can put all sorts of, baubles and beads on. And that's a simple, very simple abstract ring. So another thing we can do, let's say we wanted to make, for example, a pair of earrings that go with this ring. One thing, before I do that, one thing I want to see, you're always going to be looking for damage control. Damage control is when there's a wire that is poking out and you want to make sure that it's turned down so that it goes back into the beads and that it does not catch on things, nor does it hurt you or cut you. Real important that you do damage control on every product you make. And so this is a great just example of a very easy, quick, fun abstract ring made out of 16 gauge wire. Now, we were talking about earrings. Here's a fun way to do them. You can cut two pieces of wire that are, let's say this looks like about 6 inches or so. I'm going to take this bead off for right now. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to clamp the wire and I'm going to roll those pliers over on that wire and create a circle. Do you see that circle? Okay. You want to close this circle so that it is nice and tight and precise. Okay? I'm trying to see if you can see that. There we go. Okay. Here's the next thing we're going to do. What we're going to do is we're going to take the end of these pliers and you're going to literally bend, watch my hands, we're going to bend this wire around the plier and I'm going to keep turning that plier in, and you see how I'm making these loops? Kind of a fun start to an earring, isn't it? So before we get too far, which I may have been too far, you can add another pearl or you can add let's say I'm going to add this metal piece. It may go in, it may not. It does. So you can see how this earring is starting to take shape. And what we'll do is we'll continue to bend and bend and bend this earring into like a gratitude spiral. And as it starts to get large, what you can do is you can mold it with your hands and you can bring those pliers in and you can start to manipulate the circles that you're creating. So when you get too far, you can bend this by hand, which is wonderful. And you keep bending and bending and bending. And pretty soon what you've got is this really very cool loop. And this becomes an earring. So the next thing you do is open that loop up just a tad. And what we're going to do, you see this earring holder? This is an earring hook. I'm going to put that right on there. And now I'm going to close that. And now we have an earring that goes with this ring. Now if we had, for example, if this was pearl, then this would be a set. But for this moment of now, maybe you just want like a galaxy. So this is called, these are called gratitude earrings. They're done with an infinity spiral. There's a lot of sculpting that happens. Again, you're using your 16 gauge wire. It's a very easy application and it looks really fun on the body. So I'm going to turn this camera back up so you can see how cool these look on. So lots of easy ways to make really abstract jewelry using gratitude spirals and using simple wire bending techniques that are done by hand. Okay, so that's a little bit about creative crafting with craft wire. All right, guys, looking forward to the next lesson where we'll continue on making slab necklaces and get into some semi-precious stones. Have fun with it.